and it mattered so much to me to want to bring that authenticity to Coley and to Sonia and their like intensity and their tension.
I want to see you find your person. There's so much for you to love about yourself, Coley.
I wish I could see it.
You will, I promise.
What were you guys doing in there?
Nothing.
I don't want to hurry you, Coley, but what would people think?
All I do is run. You could stop.
I wasn't really scared. I think I was just so excited about getting to like create the backstory for these characters. And I was so inspired. And again, it was such a magical time. I think I just kind of like wrote it, you know? I mean, I started writing it back in 2018. I had just turned 21. But we had been wanting to make the movie, which is a funny story. Since 2016, I think is the first time we were like, you know, there's a really big fan base and people were like the fan fiction and like people were making what's the word? They were crowdfunding for a movie and we're like, who's getting this money? Like, we don't even know where that was going to, and like, we should just make one. And so we had been looking for a writer and like, there were some great people, but it just didn't click, like the tone, you know? And on the side, I had written some scenes that I thought would be, I don't know, I was just like, kind of had like an idea in my head of like a scene of the two girls in their bedroom, you know? And then I would just write it out, kept it a secret for a long time. And then eventually I was just showed it to Hayley. I was like, I kind of feel like this is the vibe. And then she was just like, oh, well, you should, you know, yeah, you should just do it. And I was gifted like final draft. And then I was like, oh, thanks. Okay. I'll give this a go. And I mean, I've read thousands of scripts. I grew up in this industry. I know how movies made. I love movies. And so I think it kind of just, yeah, that's kind of how it happened. I've always been split between Coley and Sonia. I feel like those are like two sides of me in a way. And, not of me, but of aspects, you know, of anything that you're writing. There's always, you're going to have that like essence, you know, and obviously it's different now as the characters have new life and actual actors playing them. Like, this is before that, you know, when you're just like in the process of thinking about it, that I kind of felt that, you know, I would feel certain aspects of Coley, her like quietness, her shyness, her more observational tendencies. And then I have this other side of me that's a bit more, you know, when the flip switches and I can be outgoing and flirty and like kind of like play into people's energy, you know, and so I do think I felt that, but I think that's just kind of what, in a sense, writing is, you know, they say like, write what you know, write truth. And even though you kind of like might write something that's totally not true, there's always like a hint of something real, right? Otherwise it's something doesn't land. I think that's why like AI, like people aren't really even into like what AI writes and stuff, is because it's not coming from something real, even though I think apparently AI like steals from stuff, but it's not coming from someone's heart. And I think people can feel that. So I think that's what I mean when I write, like, there was like a little tiny piece of me, or like a piece of, you know, my father-daughter relationship, and also someone having a hard time with their feelings and not wanting to be in love, you know, but like completely being in love and having to hold that back. And yeah, so I do think there was an aspect, but like in a respectful way, just as somebody who's, you know, you're just I'm just writing from my experience of girlhood and being 16 to 18 in that time and love. I definitely had a lot of time alone. And then I would bring the script to her and she would give me notes and we would chat about it and tell me stories about her experiences when she was 16 and she fell in love for the first time. And I really took it to heart, and it mattered so much to me to want to bring that authenticity to Coley and to Sonia and their like intensity and their tension and the like feeling of unrequited love, but also you know that they love you, and that complexity, especially with like, you know, female emotion. Honestly, I feel like the scenes with the dad felt the most emotionally honest to, well, I mean, it all has emotional honesty, but that was something that I wasn't expecting as much. But I think that the scenes between Coley and her dad, Zach Braff, played by Zach Braff, he isn't Zach Braff, was, I don't know, I feel like those scenes moved me a lot when I saw the movie. That's an interesting question. Well, everything's different, and I'm also very, like, I'm a very go with the flow person, so I feel like most people I meet, it's always a different relationship, but I always get something different out of it, you know? I feel like I love working with first-time directors and indie filmmakers and people who are very experimental and maybe a little, they're just passionate and excited, and I love to help bring their vision to life. I've worked with a lot of actors turned directors, especially when it was like their first time directing, I think. And I do love that too, because we talk about things very different. They kind of come at it with that actor perspective, which, I mean, I'm an actor. I love it. I love working with, I mean, I've worked with people who are definitely, I always kind of like the most crazy, I wouldn't even say it's crazy, but I think I worked with a director who was trying to like F with me, you know, in trying to like throw me off and try all this stuff. And I found myself not necessarily pushing up against it, but I was kind of like, you're trying to do this, you know? And I kind of like was like, I don't know if it was like me with like growing up with older brothers, kind of just feeling in my head like, you're trying to psychologically, like, I'm like, I can do this without this, you know? Like, I did this in the audition in like a stark white room. Like, I'm like, I got this, you know? But I do love it because it's a great freaking story, some of the stuff that I went through on that. But so I kind of love it all. I love it all. I love it for the stories. I kind of love a crazy experience. I kind of love working with crazy people who make things difficult. Like, I think it's all a part of it, and it's so interesting to me, and I think it all brings out a performance in a different way. One thing that I don't love is when somebody says nothing ever. I'm like, I love to communicate a little bit and talk about, maybe not, I mean, I don't like to even talk about before or anything, but even as it's going on, it's like, okay, you just like a little bit of like, hey, what's up? Just like nothing ever. You're kind of like, what are we doing? You know? But I mean, we get through it, right? Maybe that's part of their psychological tactics or whatever. That's a really tough one to answer for me. I mean, everybody's been so influential to me in different ways. I think, like, in terms of like, in a sense of like something that was pretty iconic looking back. You're like, I can't believe I got to work with Rob Reiner. That was my first big movie. And I didn't understand how incredible that was at the time. I was 12. But I have always held on to that and appreciated that experience and how special he made everybody feel and how easy everything was. And yeah, that was such an awesome time. And I'm still in contact with all the kids that I worked with on that summer shoot. I don't even remember everything I've done. Like, sometimes I'm like, I remember something. I'm like, wait a second, I did that. I knew you. Like, I just think everything leads to the next thing. And everything that's ever happened to me in my life, every single experience has somehow, it's like been the ingredient for something else, you know? Yeah, I wouldn't really say there's something that I can't shake. I feel like I get recognized for Girls Like Girls a lot, which is sweet, you know? I mean, who would have thought that? Like, because when I did the video, I did it for free over a weekend during such a busy time. And I remember no one wanted me to do it. Like, my team, they were like, I don't know, friends, parents, they were like, they were making me feel like I was like this outsider bad girl or something for like doing some indie, I don't know, so dumb. There's like this like kind of attitude that can happen, maybe, where people feel really, you know, it's like a game of like, who's here, who's anywhere. And sometimes there's this, it's funny, I didn't notice it. I mean, you always notice it, but you kind of you're like, oh, ouch, you know? And then I kind of stepped away, but I didn't live in LA for a while. And then I came back and you kind of pick up on it a lot more. There's just interesting energies of like being above other people that I think is very interesting, because I don't think, like, whether I'm not even saying for actors, to be honest. I think most actors I know are like very actually insecure, and we're all just like like really just want to make stuff we like. But it's just like a funny energy that you can kind of pick up on. It's always there, right? But it's also, the reason I say is it a necessary evil is because, like, sometimes maybe people need to feel that way to get certain shit done. And they keep things moving, right? Like, I guess, I mean, someone's got to feel like that in order to make a call and make things happen. And so maybe if it's just not personal. But I think that's an interesting thing, sometimes just listening to people and you're like, huh, interesting.